You know that moment, it's a late afternoon, you finally walk in the door, drop your bag, maybe the keys clank in the bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear the sounds, of home life starting up. Maybe your partner's starting dinner, maybe the kids are playing, or maybe it's just quiet. You're physically home, you're there.
You're there in body, absolutely. But the real noise, that's still buzzing away upstairs, right? In the control room, it's that classic, like, 5 p.m. feeling, and it is just draining.
Totally. Your eyes might be looking at your family, but your mind, it's stuck.
Yeah.
It's like replaying that awkward thing you said to a colleague at 3 o'clock.
Or cycling through that email you swore you'd send before you left. Yeah.
Exactly. And even worse, maybe it's already leaping ahead, dreading tomorrow's schedule, that big meeting, whatever it is.
Not so you're home, but you're fundamentally, well, not present. You're occupied territory, as you put it.
Yeah. And then the smallest thing happens. A kid asks us a simple question. Or, someone spills juice and boom.
Yeah.
Instead of responding calmly, you just snap.
Right. That surge of frustration or maybe even anger. And it feels so out of proportion.
It is out of proportion. Because it's not really about the juice, is it? It's because your brain is already completely full, just choked with all that internal noise.
That gap, that chasm between the joy and presence you really, really want, being with the people you love, and the mental noise, the rumination that your brain is stuck looping on, well, that's pretty much the core conflict for so many of us today.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is really focused. We're diving into the science of why our brains seem to cling to that mental noise, the stress, the worry, the endless replays.
And crucially, what we can actually do about it. Like starting tonight, immediately, to reclaim those little moments of connection and, frankly, peace in our own homes.
Our goal is to help you understand the sort of evolutionary mechanics behind why your brain feels so overwhelmed so often.
And then give you some really practical, actionable strategies. Tiny things, actually, that can interrupt that cycle.
Okay, but let's be super clear right up front. This is not about pushing toxic positivity.
Absolutely not.
We're not telling you to just slap on a smile and pretend that, economic worries aren't real, or the mortgage isn't looming, or your kid isn't struggling with something. That stuff, the chaos of modern life,
Yeah.
it's absolutely real. It's valid.
100%. What this deep dive is about, fundamentally, is training your attention. It's about understanding the operating system you've got,
Right.
and then installing some tiny new instructions, little programs, if you like, so that when you walk in the door or sit down for dinner, you can more consistently choose presence instead of, well, panic.
So it's acknowledging the chaos is real, but working on our response to it, training that response.
Exactly. It's about training attention.
Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to start by really digging into the core science, what we're calling the twin engines that power all this mental noise. That's the negativity bias and the default mode network. Then we're going to introduce 3 immediate, very doable micro habits.
Yeah.
Tiny evidence-based practices designed to be like intentional off-ramps from all that noise. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts of the brain itself, let's just ground this whole conversation in context. Because if you feel like you're constantly on edge or just perpetually stressed out,
Yeah.
you really need to know you are not alone in this feeling. It's kind of a shared societal stress landscape right now.
That's such an essential starting point. It really is. When you look at the global data, this feeling of being overwhelmed, it's systemic. It's not just a personal failing.
Right.
The Gallup 2024 Global Emotions Report, for instance, it showed that levels of worry and stress are still historically incredibly high across the board.
And specifically in the U.S., we're seeing something the American Psychological Association's 2024 Stress in America survey pointed out, this huge spillover effect.
Spillover. Yeah, explain that.
Well, it means the external stressors, worries about the economy, the future of the country, climate change, all that big stuff, it's not staying out there. It's directly hitting people's ability to feel calm and connected at home. That line between work stress and home stress is just completely blurred now, gone almost.
Yeah.
And that sustained background pressure, it's just exhausting. It really grinds you down. And it gives us really important context for why finding that peace at home, that domestic calm, has become so hard.
And you can actually measure the impact, right?
You can. For the first time ever in the 2024 World Happiness Report, the U.S. actually dropped out of the top 20 happiest countries.
Wow.
Yeah. And what that tells us is that the societal noise, the big picture stuff, it's amplifying our individual internal noise. It makes finding intentional peace feel less like a luxury and more like a genuine survival skill. a survival skill. I think is a really crucial way to frame it. It's a skill we need to build. Okay, so let's shift now to the neuroscience. Why does our own personal engine of mental noise run so hot, especially when we should be winding down?
Right. And the first and maybe the most validating thing to understand is this. It is not a character flaw. It's not some moral failing on your part.
Okay, that's good to hear.
It's basically the brain's factory settings. It's an inherent survival mechanism baked in over millennia.
Factory settings, I like that.
Exactly. Your brain is this incredibly ancient organ, perfected by evolution with one main goal: keep you alive. Simple as that.
Okay.
The problem is, modern life runs on these abstract threats, emails, bills, social media comparisons.
Like not tigers in the bushes.
Precisely. But your brain's architecture, it's still kind of wired for the savannah.
Sure.
So we have two main players creating this internal racket, this constant noise.
Okay, player number one. This one's pretty famous, I think. The negativity bias.
Ah, yes, the star of the show.
This is the idea, and I love this phrasing, that our brains are like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones.
It's a perfect analogy, and it's incredibly adaptive evolutionarily speaking. Just think about our ancestors for a second.
Okay.
Imagine two early humans. One is just blissfully enjoying the quiet afternoon sunshine. The other one, they're obsessing over that little rustle in the bushes over there. Was it a predator? Was it another tribe?
The worrier.
The worrier. Who survived to pass on their genes? The one who paid attention to the potential threat, right? We're literally the descendants of the anxious ones, the ones who are constantly scanning for problems.
So this threat scanning thing, this negativity bias, it's hardwired in. Its job is to find problems.
That's its job description.
But the challenge now, in 2025 or whenever you're listening, is that the tiger isn't usually a single physical threat you can fight or flee from.
Exactly. The threat today is that notification about an overdue bill pinging on your phone. It's a passive-aggressive email chain that just won't die. It's the constant low-grade stress about school applications or maybe chronic anxiety about your finances.
And these aren't things you can just, punch or run away from.
Right. And that's the key difference. The bias is still running 204/7, scanning for threats. But the threats are abstract, they're cumulative, they're constant. They don't trigger a clean fight or flight that resolves itself. Instead, they trigger this perpetual state of low-grade worry and unease.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And this perpetual worry.
Yeah.
It leads us right into the second major player you mentioned, the network that seems to handle all this mental time traveling. The default mode network, the DMN.
The DMN, yes. Think of the DMN as your brain's background processing. It's power-saving mode, maybe?
Like a screensaver.
Exactly like a screensaver. It's what automatically kicks in when you aren't focused on a specific, demanding external task.
Huh? I always just thought I was easily distracted or scatterbrained.
Oh.
But you're saying this feeling of constantly replaying old arguments in my head or like catastrophizing about the future, that's actually a specific brain network doing its thing.
That's largely it, yes. And knowing that is incredibly validating, I think, because it means it's not just random noise, it's a process. And processes can potentially be redirected.
Okay, so when does this DMN screensaver usually turn on?
It tends to engage whenever your conscious, focused attention drops off. So it's active when you're doing something kind of automatic or familiar.
Like what?
Like driving a route you know really well, doing the dishes, brushing your teeth, or, and this is critical for our conversation today, walking in the door after work right when your task-focused brain finally relaxes a bit.
Ah, okay. That's the moment.
Yeah.
And what does the screensaver typically display? What's on the screen?
Well, it loves to time travel. It seems to have two favorite destinations. Ruminating on the past.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe I said that in the meeting. I totally bombed that presentation.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Exactly that kind of stuff. And at the same time, or alternating rapidly, worrying about the future.
What if the car breaks down? How are we going to pay for that summer camp? I'm
Right.
definitely going to fail this big project at work.
Precisely. And this is where some really interesting research from 2023 comes in. It showed the DMN is heavily involved in what's called self-referential processing.
Self-referential, meaning about me.
Exactly. It means the screensaver is primarily obsessed with you. Your story, your past mistakes, your future worries, how things relate back to your identity, your value, your role as a parent, a partner, an employee.
Wow. Okay, so that's why a small thing, like the spill juice we talked about, can feel so disproportionately huge and personal.
Makes sense now. Right.
Yeah. My brain isn't just registering mess on the floor. It instantly links it back to the DMN's worry loop. See, I'm failing at keeping this house together. or I'm failing at being a calm parent. It connects the tiny problem to my whole sense of self-worth.
You nailed it. That combination is, well, it can be pretty toxic. You've got the negativity bias hardwired to spot problems. It's running a DMN screensaver program that defaults specifically to worrying about your past failures and future anxieties, all linked back to you. That right there. Yeah. That's the engine of mental noise.
Okay. And if we accept that's the setup, then we also have to accept that just getting a notification from a meditation app telling us to just breathe probably isn't going to be enough to turn that powerful engine off.
Right. You can't just flip an off switch for the DMN or the negativity bias. They're core parts of your operating system. They're doing what they evolved to do.
We can train them. We can give them different instructions.
We can. We can install intentional, tiny little off-ramps. Habits that deliberately pull the brain out of that time-traveling screensaver and anchor it firmly back into the present moment. These are the micro habits we're talking about. Small, consistent actions designed specifically to counteract those deeply ingrained neural defaults.
Okay, so the core idea is we have to give the brain new, specific instructions to kind of exit that DMN screensaver loop. Let's get practical. Let's talk about 3 specific, maybe family-focused habits.
And we really want you to think about these not as more chores on your to-do list, but as little experiments. Critical experiments you're running on your own nervous system to try and reclaim some of your time and attention.
Yeah, I like experiments. Less pressure.
Exactly. And these habits are deliberately designed to be super brief, either just 60 seconds or maybe 10, 15 minutes max, because they have to be realistic, right, for busy people juggling all the pressures we just talked about.
Totally. Okay, let's start with habit A, the first 60 seconds presence. This one targets that really crucial transition moment coming from the outside world, work stress, commute stress, whatever, into your home space.
Right. The commitment here is strictly for that first minute when you walk in the door, or maybe when you first greet your family after being apart for a bit.
Okay, 1 minute. What do I do?
The how-to is very precise. Step 1. Your phone immediately goes away. Pocket, bag, maybe a designated basket by the door, completely out of sight.
Ooh, okay. That's hard for some people.
It is, but it's critical. Step 2. You do not start sorting the mail. You don't check your work bag for anything. None of that.
So for that 1 minute, my only job is just arrive.
Physically and mentally arrive, yes. Make some genuine, sustained eye contact with whoever you're greeting. Give a real, full hug or some kind of physical touch if that's natural for you and them.
Okay.
Eye contact, touch. And, this is key, ask one specific question that requires them and you to focus on the present moment. You need to skip the generic, how is your day? Because that usually gets a generic, fine.
Right.
Useless. Try something like, what was the best part of your last hour? Or tell me one surprising thing that happened today. Something that makes them think for a second.
Okay, I like that. Best part of the last hour. Why does this seemingly tiny thing work? What's the science link?
It acts as this incredibly powerful anchor. That physical act of stopping, making eye contact, really listening to the answer, it immediately yanks your brain out of the DMN's past-future worry loop. When you engage your senses, sight, touch, the sound of their voice, you're activating what's called the task-positive network. And when that network switches on, the DMN screensaver automatically switches off. They tend to work in opposition.
So it's like changing the channel in your brain.
In a way, yes. And that eye contact, that specific question, it does something else vital. It signals safety to your nervous system.
Safety? How?
Remember, the DMN is often busy generating feelings of threat, worry, maybe even isolation. By focusing intently on connection, even for just 60 seconds, you're giving yourself this potent dose of real-time social connection, which, by the way, directly addresses what the U.S. Surgeon General has been warning about regarding loneliness and its health impacts.
Okay.
It basically tells the primal, ancient part of your brain, hey, I'm seen, I'm connected, I am safe right now, there is no tiger here.
I can see how that would work. But I think the biggest challenge for listeners will be resisting that pull, that urgency of the outside world. You know, the urge to just quickly sort the mail pile while you're saying hello or glance at that one text that just came in. You're saying even that tiny interruption breaks the spell.
It really compromises the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the second you allow yourself to engage in even a minor task or glance at your screen, you're basically giving the DMN permission to stay active, to keep running its old loops. The commitment has to be 60 seconds of truly undivided attention. Think of it like a mini ritual, a deliberate act to reset the tone for the evening.
Okay. Undivided attention. Got it. That makes sense. All right. Let's move to habit B, 3-2-1 gratitude.
Yeah.
You mentioned maybe doing this at dinner or bedtime.
Yeah, it can be a great shared ritual, or you can absolutely do it solo. This habit is designed as the direct counterpunch to that pesky negativity bias we talked about.
The Velcro for bad, Teflon for good thing.
Exactly. If your brain naturally glums onto the negative, we have to deliberately, consciously, and repeatedly practice noticing and holding on to the good stuff. It's intentional scanning for the positive.
Okay, how does 3-2-1 work?
It's super simple and adaptable. Whether you do it out loud with family or just think it through yourself, you name.
Okay, first, 3 small good things that happened today, and you emphasized small here, right?
Crucially small. The goal is to bypass the brain's tendency to only register big, dramatic events. We want the minor, everyday background positives that usually slip right off that Teflon brain.
Like, give me some examples.
My coffee this morning was perfectly hot, or I saw a really cool dog on my walk that looked like a fluffy sheep, or maybe I managed to get through the ridiculously long line at the grocery store faster than I expected. Tiny things.
Okay, 3 small good things.
Yeah.
Then what's the 2?
2 people you are genuinely grateful for today. This is really important because it immediately shifts your focus outward, away from yourself. It breaks that self-obsessed cycle the DMN loves. It forces you to acknowledge connection, support, relationships.
Okay, 2 people.
And the 1. And finally, 1 thing you are genuinely looking forward to tomorrow. Again, keep it small and achievable. It doesn't have to be a vacation. It could be, I'm looking forward to wearing that cozy sweater, or I just can't wait for that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Simple. Okay, so 3 small goods, 2 grateful people, 1 thing tomorrow. What's the science say about why this works? Seems almost too simple.
It does seem simple, but the research is surprisingly robust. A major meta-analysis from 2023 confirmed that consistent gratitude practices, even short, structured ones like this, provide a reliable, measurable boost to mental health and overall well-being.
A boost how?
It seems to work by building optimism and lowering perceived stress levels. By forcing your brain to actively hunt for the good, you are literally strengthening neural pathways that notice the positive. You're counteracting the negativity default programming.
So it's like building a gratitude muscle.
Exactly. It's not about ignoring the problems or pretending bad things didn't happen. It's about deliberately acknowledging that good things, however small, also existed in your day, giving them equal airtime in your brain.
Got it. So we're not just trying to feel momentarily nice. We're actively retraining our brain's threat detection system to also register positive data points it would normally just filter out or ignore.
You got it. It's exercise for your attention muscle, which leads us nicely into our third microhabit, habit C, the all-walk family edition.
Okay, this one, I have to admit, sounded the most out there,
Yeah.
but also intriguing. The commitment is short again, right? Like 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, super short. Once this week, maybe get outside for 10 or 15 minutes. You can do it alone or make it a family activity.
And the crucial rule here is?
The absolute critical rule is the purpose is not exercise. It's not about getting your steps in. It's not about listening to this podcast while you walk. The goal is singular. Find awe.
Find awe in 15 minutes around my neighborhood.
Yes. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to actively hunt for one tiny, amazing detail, something that makes you pause and go, wow.
Like what?
Yeah.
What qualifies as awe-inspiring on a Tuesday afternoon walk?
It could be the intricate structure of a bird's nest you spot, or the way the late afternoon sunlight suddenly hits one particular building or tree branch, maybe the sheer mind-boggling complexity of a spider web, or the detailed pattern on a single fallen leaf, or watching ants work, anything that captures your attention with its complexity or beauty.
Okay, I can see finding cool stuff. But how does looking closely at a leaf actually help me deal with, say, my crushing work deadline tomorrow? This is where the neuroscience gets really interesting, you said.
It really does. It's all about the perspective shift it creates. Fascinating research from UCSF found that when people took weekly 15-minute awe walks, they reported significant increases in positive emotions like compassion and gratitude, and crucially, noticeable reductions in their daily distress levels.
Okay, less distress is good. How?
They actually analyzed the participants' selfies and journal entries from these walks, and they found their language started to shift. They used fewer first-person pronouns, less I, me, my, and started using more collective, expansive language. They felt smaller in a good way.
Ah, okay. So it triggers that feeling of the small self.
Precisely. Awe acts as this instant cognitive disruptor. It makes you feel small in relation to something vast, complex, beautiful, or profound, whether that's a huge natural landscape, intricate art, or even just the complexity of an anthill.
Right.
And when your sense of self shrinks, even momentarily, your personal problems, the very things the DMN loves to chew on, like your perceived failures or future anxieties, they naturally feel smaller and less overwhelming by comparison.
That's clever. It's like zooming out from your own internal drama.
Exactly. It's a powerful, surprisingly fast-acting way to boost positive emotion and interrupt that self-obsessed DMN loop.
Okay, that makes perfect sense now. It directly counteracts the DMN's intense self-referential focus. But I have to ask the practical, skeptical question again.
Go for it.
My family barely has time for homework and dinner some nights, let alone scheduling a dedicated 15-minute awe walk to contemplate nature's wonders. Is there, like, a 30-second hack? Can I find awe while stirring the pasta sauce?
Haha, that's a fantastic challenge. And yes, absolutely. If a 15-minute walk feels impossible right now, you can still seek out a 30-second awe moment.
Okay, how?
Stand at your kitchen window for 30 seconds and intentionally look at the sky. Don't just glance. Notice the exact color, the shape, and layering of the clouds. Or focus intently on the complex grain pattern in your wooden cutting board or kitchen table. Pick up a piece of fruit and just marvel at its texture and color.
So the mechanism is the same, even scaled down.
The mechanism is the same. Deliberately force your attention onto complexity and wonder outside of yourself and your internal chatter. The full walk is probably more potent, sure, but the intention to seek awe, even for 30 seconds, still matters. It can still provide that little perspective shift.
Okay, so we've dug into the science, the negativity bias, the default mode network, these twin engines driving the noise. And we've laid out 3 really concrete, low-effort micro-habits designed as specific off-ramps. The 60-second presence, the 3-2-1 gratitude, the awe walk.
Right.
But the big question remains, does this small stuff actually make a difference in the face of the real-world chaos of, say, evening routines with kids?
I really believe it does, because what we're fundamentally changing isn't the external circumstances necessarily, but the starting point of how we engage with them. We're shifting that initial energy from reactive, overwhelmed panic to something more like intentional presence.
Okay.
And the case studies we looked at really bear this out. Often the biggest shifts in overall feeling came from the smallest, most targeted interventions.
Let's talk about Sarah and Mark. You describe them as the classic dual career couple, 2 young kids, under 8, just facing complete exhaustion every single evening.
Yeah, their description of their home life was really raw. They called their evenings a chaotic blur. They literally used the phrase failed military operation to describe trying to get through dinner and bedtime. Lots of raised voices, high stress, feeling like they were constantly behind and failing.
Sounds familiar to many, I'm sure. So what did they try?
They decided to implement just habit A. Just the first 60 seconds rule. That's it.
Just the arrival minute.
Just the arrival minute. Mark mentioned it felt really awkward the first few times, actively having to stop himself from glancing at his work bag or phone. But they committed. Phones went in a basket in the kitchen. They prioritized that real hug, eye contact, and asking a specific question as soon as they reconnected with the kids.
And what happened? Did the chaos magically disappear?
The chaos didn't disappear, no. But what happened next was really critical. Within about a week, they both noticed the energy had shifted. Sarah specifically noted that the kids actually stopped their usual immediate whining for the iPad or TV right when they walked in.
Interesting. Why do you think that was?
Our take is that the parents' energy was different. It wasn't that usual frantic, overwhelmed, don't bother me right now vibe they were unintentionally putting out. Because the parents were more anchored and present, the kids seemed to respond differently.
Right. And were there other changes?
Yes. Mark kept track and reported they had 3 fewer major evening blow-ups. Big yelling incidents in the second week compared to the week before. It wasn't just less yelling. He felt they were able to handle the inevitable spills or homework frustrations with a calmer, more available tone of voice.
So changing just that initial 60 seconds really did set a different foundation for the whole night.
It seemed to. That small shift suggested the core problem wasn't necessarily the kids' behavior or the homework itself. It was the layer of mental noise and depletion the parents were bringing to those challenges. By interrupting their own DMN loops right at the door, they seemed to have a little more cognitive reserve, a bit more patience for the actual demands of the evening.
That's a powerful example. Now, let's look at David. His situation sounds different, more about a chronic, heavy emotional load.
Very different, yes. David was deep in the sandwich generation squeeze, caring for his 9-year-old son while also managing significant care responsibilities for his aging mother. The emotional toll was immense.
And his dominant feeling was?
Anticipatory anxiety. Dread, really. He called it Sunday dread, but said it would often start creeping in by Friday afternoon. Just knowing that whole cycle of overwhelming caregiving demands plus his job was about to restart. That's classic DMN future worry running wild.
So what did he try? An all walk wouldn't fix that.
No. He started with habit B, the 3-2-1 gratitude practice, but he did it completely solo. He'd take about 2 minutes in his car, park down the street before walking into his house after work, and just mentally run through his 3-2-1 list.
So he wasn't sharing it, just using it as a personal mental tool.
Exactly, as a cognitive reframing tool. He told us that, yeah, initially it felt really forced, contrived even.
I bet.
But the sheer repetition day after day started to force his brain to actively notice tiny positive moments that his usual stress-filled negativity bias would have completely erased or ignored.
Like what kind of things?
He started noticing and actually logging in his mind the moment his son spontaneously brought him a cup of coffee without being asked, or recalling a brief moment of genuine shared laughter with his mother amidst an otherwise difficult caregiving task. Things that were happening anyway but weren't registering.
And did it change his problems? Did his mom get better or his workload decrease?
No. And he was very clear about that when we followed up. His external reality, his responsibilities, they were completely unchanged. But, and this is the key, he reported, that by intentionally noticing and mentally stacking up those small positive data points each day, it significantly lowered the volume on his background dread.
Lowered the volume. That's a great way to put it.
Isn't it? It gave his brain an alternative narrative to focus on, besides just the overwhelming, seemingly inevitable difficulties of the week ahead. That gratitude practice became his way of actively counter-programming the DMN's relentless future worry loop.
Wow. So these case studies really highlight that you don't need some massive life overhaul. It's about these small, deliberate, targeted instructions to counteract the brain's ancient automated settings.
Precisely. It's about working smarter with the brain you have, not harder against it.
So let's bring it all back together, back to that original 5 p.m. problem, that feeling of being home but not present. Your brain, largely thanks to that negativity bias and the default mode network, defaults to noise. That's basically its evolutionary job description.
It's doing what it was designed to do, exactly.
And our job, living in this incredibly complex, often stressful modern world, is to deliberately train it for joy and presence. We have to consciously override those ancient defaults sometimes.
And we do that by introducing these intentional, scientifically grounded off-ramps we've discussed. Things like anchoring firmly in the present moment.
A 60-second presence.
Forcing the brain to scan for the positive.
The 3-2-1 gratitude.
Then deliberately seeking perspective shifts through moments of awe.
The awe walk or awe moment.
Okay.
Which brings us very neatly to your weekly challenge.
Yes. It's simple, but it does require a little bit of commitment. We really want you to treat this like a personal experiment this week. Try all 3 of these micro habits, just once each.
Okay, so the challenge is, try one first 60 seconds arrival. Phone down, full attention up, genuine connection for just 1 minute.
Then try one 3-2-1 gratitude session, either solo or with family. Force your brain to deliberately stand for 3 small goods, 2 people, 1 thing tomorrow.
And finally, take one 10 or 15-minute awe walk, or even just find a dedicated 30-second awe moment. Step outside yourself and intentionally find something tiny and amazing to focus on.
Just once each. That's the experiment.
And here's the personal metric we want you to use. A way to measure this shift for yourself. Right now, if you can, pause this and open the Notes app on your phone. Seriously, take 2 seconds. Do this now.
Okay.
And just rate your current stress level right this moment on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is total zen, complete calm and availability, and 10 is absolute panic, feeling totally overwhelmed and afraid.
Just jot down that number. That's your baseline for today.
Then, sometime after you've completed all 3 parts of this week's challenge, the 60 seconds, the 3-2-1, the awe moment, go back to that note and rate your stress level again, using the same 0 to 10 scale.
And just notice what might have shifted. Notice the difference, however small, when you actively, intentionally interrupt that engine of mental noise and give your brain a new, gentler instruction.
That really is the power of this deep dive, isn't it? The ability to take this knowledge and apply it immediately, today, in your actual life, and see if it makes a difference for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the science of noise and really the practice of training your attention. Remember, you probably can't stop the DMN screensaver from turning on sometimes,
Right.
but you can start to have more choice about what it ruminates on and how much power you give it.
Excellent point. Now, next week, we're actually going even deeper into that second component, the default mode network itself, and specifically the voice of your inner critic, your inner monologue.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is. The deep dive is called The Chaos Within, Taming the Inner Monologue. We'll dig much deeper into self-talk, how the DMN shapes it, and we'll introduce another practical tool, a powerful 3-minute daily silence block designed specifically to help quiet that screensaver and potentially shift the focus of your self-referential processing.
Looking forward to that one. In the meantime, be kind to your brain this week and train it well.
We'll see you next